Hey everyone, you ready to dive into something pretty wild?
Oh, I'm always up for a wild deep dive. What do we have today?
We're talking about a prediction that's been making some serious waves in the tech world.
Oh, prediction. Those always get people talking.
This one is about the arrival of really powerful AI.
You mean like AGI, the kind of AI we see in sci-fi movies?
Exactly, and the person making this prediction is Dario Amodei.
Dario Amodei, okay, I know that name. CEO of Anthropic, right?
You got it. They're all about AI safety and research, so when he talks, people listen.
He definitely knows what he's talking about.
Right.
So what's the prediction? When does he think this AGI is going to show up?
Buckle up, because he's saying it could happen as early as 2026 or 2027.
Wow, that's right around the corner. But why is he so sure about that timeline?
Well, it all comes down to this idea called the scaling hypothesis.
Scaling hypothesis. I'm all ears.
It's the idea that the bigger the AI model and the more data you feed it, the smarter it gets.
Huh. Sounds kind of simple when you put it like that. Just make it bigger and feed it more. Boom, super intelligence.
It might sound a little too good to be true, but the crazy thing is, it's been working.
Really? Amodei must have some serious evidence to back that up.
Oh, he does. We actually have a goldmine of information for this deep dive.
Ooh, lay on me. What are we working with?
Amodei did this in-depth interview on the Lex Fridman podcast.
The Lex Fridman podcast. Classic. Always a great listen.
And he wasn't alone. He was with Amanda Askell and Chris Olah, two other big names at Anthropic. They go really deep into the scaling hypothesis, how it works, and why they think it's leading us towards AGI so fast.
So this is like the dream team of AI experts all gathered in one place talking about the future of AI. That sounds like a must listen.
Oh, it absolutely is. And one of the things they talk about is how this realization about the scaling hypothesis hit Amodei back in 2016, 2017 while he was at Google.
Google, huh? Back when he was working with Ilya Sutskever, right? The guy who's now the chief scientist at OpenAI. Talk about a brain trust.
Exactly. So they're seeing these models getting smarter and smarter as they scale them up, and people are starting to take notice, but not everyone was convinced at first.
Really? Why not? It seems like the evidence was right there in front of them.
People were skeptical. They thought there had to be some kind of limit to how smart these models could get just by scaling them up.
But Amodei and Sutskever, they kept pushing, kept experimenting, and the results just kept proving them right.
It's like they stumbled onto this fundamental law of AI, and it's unlocking a whole new level of capability, which is exciting, of course, but also a little bit scary, right?
Definitely a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
Because if this powerful AI is really coming that soon, we need to make sure we're ready for it.
Exactly. And that's where Anthropic's approach comes in.
So they're not just building AI, they're building it responsibly. How are they going about that?
They've got this thing called the Responsible Scaling Policy, or RSP for short.
RSP. Okay. What is that? Some kind of rule book for AI development?
You could say that. It's basically a set of guidelines for different stages of AI development. Each stage has its own set of safety protocols.
So as the AI gets more powerful, they ramp up the safety measures.
Exactly. It's kind of like a step-by-step approach to AI safety, making sure we're not caught off guard when things start getting really interesting.
Makes sense. So what are some of the safety measures they're looking at?
Well, one of the things I found really fascinating is this idea of trigger commitments.
Trigger commitments, what are those?
It means they're not going to slam on the brakes unless they see very specific warning signs.
So they're being cautious, but not overly restrictive. That sounds like a smart approach.
It's all about finding that balance. They want to allow for rapid progress, but also be prepared to act if things start heading in a dangerous direction.
A delicate balance indeed. But do we know what kind of warning signs they're looking for?
One of the triggers they mention is hitting something called ASL3 in 2025.
ASL3, what does that mean?
It's a specific level of AI capability that Amodei sees as a major milestone. He thinks hitting that milestone could be a sign that things are moving faster than we anticipated.
Okay, so if they hit ASL3, that could trigger some serious safety measures. But what kind of measures are we talking about?
Well, that's still a bit of a mystery. We'll have to wait and see what they come up with.
Fair enough. But I'm sure they have some brilliant minds working on it.
Oh, absolutely. And one of those brilliant minds is Chris Olah. He's doing some groundbreaking work on something called mechanistic interpretability, or Mech-Interp for short.
Mech-Interp. That sounds intense. What's that all about?
It's basically about understanding how these AI models actually work on the inside.
Oh, so it's like cracking open the black box of AI.
Exactly. Up until now, AI has been kind of a mystery. We see what it can do, but we don't really understand how it does it. Mech-Interp is all about changing that.
So we're talking about looking inside the AI's brain, so to speak. That's a pretty bold goal.
It is, and it's not easy. But Ola and his team are making some incredible progress. They're developing techniques to actually see what's happening inside these neural networks, to understand the algorithms and representations they use to process information.
So instead of just observing the AI's behavior, we can actually understand its thought process. That's mind-blowing. But how is that even possible?
Well, Ola gives this really cool example in the podcast. It's called the Golden Gate Bridge Claude experiment.
Golden Gate Bridge Claude. Okay, now you have to explain that one.
They basically found specific directions within the neural network that lit up when the AI was shown a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Wait, so you're telling me that a mathematical vector, a bunch of numbers, can represent something as complex and visual as the Golden Gate Bridge?
It's pretty wild, right? It's like finding a specific neuron in the AI's brain that's responsible for recognizing the Golden Gate Bridge.
That makes me wonder, how many of these specific directions are there? How many concepts can these AI models actually represent?
That's a great question, and it leads us to another really mind-bending concept. Superposition.
Superposition. Isn't that something from quantum physics? What does it have to do with AI?
It's kind of like quantum physics for AI. It turns out that these AI models can represent way more concepts than they have neurons.
So it's not just about the number of neurons, but about how they're connected and how they interact with each other.
Exactly. It's like these neurons are multitasking, each one representing multiple concepts at the same time.
That's a level of efficiency we can barely comprehend. No wonder these AI models are getting so smart so quickly. It's like they're packing way more information into the system than we initially realized.
It's definitely a game changer. And it makes you wonder just how powerful these AI models could become if we keep scaling them up.
And how soon until we reach that AGI threshold that Amodei is talking about. It's both exciting and a little bit terrifying, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. But that's why this whole conversation about AI safety is so important. We need to be prepared for what's coming.
We definitely do. And I have a feeling this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to uncover.
Oh, there definitely is. And that's what we're going to be diving into in the next part of our deep dive. We'll be exploring Amodei's vision for the future of AI, the potential benefits and risks, and what it all means for us as humans.
Can't wait to dig in. This is getting really interesting.
You and me both. Stay tuned, everyone. This deep dive is just getting started.
You know, it's funny. We talk about all this amazing AI stuff.
Yeah.
But one of the things that really gets me is superposition.
Superposition, right. Yeah, we touched on that earlier.
It's like this secret ingredient.
It almost feels like a cheat code or something.
It kind of is, right? It bends the rules of how we think about AI.
But how does it actually work? I'm still trying to wrap my head around it.
Okay, imagine this. You have this limited number of neurons, right?
Right, like brain cells for the AI.
But they're not just sitting there. They exist in a high-dimensional space.
High-dimensional space.
Okay, now you're losing me.
Think of it like having countless directions.
And each direction represents a different concept.
So it's not about how many neurons you have. It's about how they connect in this crazy space.
Bingo. It's all about the connections, the possibilities.
So it's like instead of a library with books on shelves, it's more like this massive web of interconnected ideas.
A web, exactly. And the AI can navigate this web like nobody's business.
It's finding relationships, making connections we could never even dream of.
And remember how Chris Ola talked about these neural networks being learning algorithms for learning?
Yeah, like they're constantly figuring out better ways to learn.
They're not just storing data, they're actively making sense of it.
Building their own little AI world in there.
Exactly. And that's why guys like Amodei are so excited about the potential in fields like biology.
Biology, right. He talked about the challenges of seeing at the cellular level.
Like trying to understand a complex machine through a foggy window.
It's all blurry and we're just getting glimpses.
But AI could wipe that window clean.
It could see things we can't even imagine.
Imagine AI working with biologists.
Side by side.
Sifting through mountains of data.
Finding patterns we'd never spot on our own.
Leading to breakthroughs that could change everything.
That would be amazing, like giving scientists a super-powered microscope.
More than a microscope.
Yeah.
Amodei talks about AI actually manipulating biological systems.
Like building things.
Designing new therapies.
It's like CRISPR, but on a whole other level.
It's rewriting the rules of life itself.
That is a mind-blowing thought.
And it's not just biology.
No.
Amodei thinks AI could automate a lot of the work programmers do.
Oh, wow. Even coding.
He's even saying potentially by 2026, 2027.
I can already see the headlines.
Yeah.
Will robots take our coding jobs?
It's going to be a big conversation for sure.
But Amodei has a point about comparative advantage, right?
Yeah, even if AI takes over a big chunk of the work.
The things humans are still good at become even more valuable.
It's like when word processors came along.
Right. Suddenly it wasn't about typing fast.
It was about what you were actually writing.
Yeah. Your ideas mattered more than ever.
Exactly. AI could do the same for coding.
Freeing up human programmers to solve the really hard problems.
The creative stuff, the big picture stuff.
So it's not about replacing programmers, it's about giving them superpowers.
Exactly. But of course, with great power comes great responsibility, right?
That's where Anthropic's responsible scaling policy comes in.
Building those guardrails, those safety measures.
They're taking this seriously.
And they're not doing it alone.
What do you mean?
Amodei talks about needing everyone involved.
Like the whole industry.
Industry, governments, researchers.
Working together.
To make sure AI is developed responsibly.
Because if it's not,
well, that's when things could get really messy.
it's a big responsibility, no doubt.
But it's also an incredible opportunity.
Right. Amodei believes AI can be a force for good.
He even says he's optimistic about the future.
Really? That's refreshing to hear, with all the doom and gloom out there.
Amodei's point is that it's about the journey.
The process of creating and learning and growing.
And AI can be a part of that.
Like a partner in pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
It's a different way of looking at it, isn't it?
It is. It's not just about some far-off future where robots rule the world.
It's about how we use AI to make our lives better right now.
To solve problems, to explore new ideas, to connect with each other.
Exactly. But remember, AI itself is still evolving.
It's changing all the time.
We're learning new things about it every day.
Like Chris Ola's work on mechanistic interpretability.
Peering inside the brain of AI.
It's amazing they can do that.
But it's not easy.
What do you mean?
Ola says we're still in the early stages.
Like we're just getting started.
He uses this analogy of organs.
Organs, like in the body.
He says right now we're studying the tiny veins and capillaries.
But we need to understand the larger structures.
The organs of AI cognition.
So it's not just about the individual neurons.
It's about how they work together as a system.
Which is super complex, especially with superposition in the mix.
It's like trying to map a city where buildings are constantly changing.
Appearing and disappearing, merging together.
Exactly. How do you even begin to map something like that?
It sounds incredibly difficult.
It is, but they're finding ways.
Like what?
Ola's team is using something called sparse autoencoders.
Sparse autoencoders? That's a mouthful.
It's basically a way of identifying the most important features.
Like the key building blocks of the AI's thought process.
Exactly. Like finding needles in a haystack.
And they're finding actual needles.
Oh yeah, they're finding features that correspond to specific languages.
Like different human languages.
Arabic, Hebrew. They've even found features that detect code vulnerabilities.
Wait, so they can tell when the AI is making a coding mistake?
It's not quite that simple, but you're getting the idea.
So it's like they're seeing which neurons light up when the AI is thinking about certain things?
It's a simplified way of looking at it, but it gets the point across.
This is incredible stuff. What can we do with this knowledge?
We can make AI systems more reliable.
More robust.
Even more secure.
That's huge, especially if we're talking about powerful AI.
Imagine finding and fixing vulnerabilities before they cause any harm.
That would be a game changer for sure.
And it goes even further.
What do you mean?
Ola mentioned they found features related to deception.
Deception? Like the AI is lying?
No, it's not about AI being malicious.
Okay, good.
It's about understanding how AI processes information about truth and falsehood.
So it's more about how AI thinks about those concepts.
Exactly. It's about understanding the AI's internal model of the world.
Which is probably way more complex than we can even imagine.
Probably. But that's what makes this research so exciting.
It's like exploring a whole new universe.
A universe inside the AI.
And who knows what we'll find as we keep exploring.
Exactly. It's a journey of discovery.
But it's a journey we need to be careful with, right?
Of course, AI is powerful.
And it can be used for good or bad.
That's why groups like Anthropic are so important.
They're working to make sure AI is aligned with human values.
To make sure it benefits everyone.
And they're not shying away from the tough questions.
They're confronting the issues head on.
Bias, sycophancy, the potential for misuse.
It's a reminder that the future of AI is not set in stone.
It's something we're all shaping together.
Through the choices we make, the research we do, the conversations we have.
Like the conversation we're having right now.
Exactly. And speaking of conversations, one of the things that really struck me about Amodei is that he's not just focused on making AI smarter.
He's thinking about what it means for us humans.
He knows AI is going to change the way we live, the way we work, the way we relate to each other.
And he's asking the big questions.
What does it mean to be human in a world with powerful AI?
It's a question that philosophers have been wrestling with for centuries.
And now it's becoming a practical question, too.
Well, a question we need to answer now.
Amanda Askell, the AI alignment researcher we talked about.
Yeah, the one with the philosophy background.
She's been exploring this question in her work.
It seems like she brings a really unique perspective.
Combining philosophy with hands-on AI experience.
And what's she saying about all this?
One of the most interesting things she brings up is this idea of AI character.
AI character? I've never heard of that.
It's the idea that AI shouldn't just be functional.
It should have some personality.
More than personality.
What do you mean?
It should align with human values and social norms.
So, like, teaching AI to be a good friend.
That's a good way to put it.
To be kind, to be empathetic.
Askell thinks AI needs a moral compass.
A set of principles to guide its interactions with humans.
So it doesn't just avoid doing bad things.
But it actually tries to do good things.
Askell imagines AI systems that are witty, compassionate, even playful.
Wow, it's like we're not just building machines, we're building companions.
That's a really interesting way to think about it.
It's not just about the technology, it's about the relationship.
And that relationship is going to be crucial as AI gets more powerful.
We need to make sure it's a healthy relationship.
A relationship that benefits both humans and AI.
So what kind of character do we want AI to have?
That's the million-dollar question.
And it's a question we all need to be thinking about.
Because the answer is going to shape the future.
Not just the future of AI.
The future of humanity. It's crazy to think, right?
What is?
That we created something, AI, that could actually change what it means to be human.
Yeah, it's kind of mind-boggling.
It's like AI is holding up a mirror.
Showing us who we are.
Not just the good stuff, but our flaws too.
And Amanda Askell really gets into this.
She even questions if our idea of consciousness is like too limited.
Too human.
Exactly, to even grasp what AI could be.
So we might need to rethink what we even consider intelligent.
It's a big shift in thinking.
Askell doesn't shy away from those big questions.
She ties AI into these huge philosophical debates.
About reality, meaning the whole shebang.
And one thing that really stood out.
What's that?
She thinks AI could help us understand truth better.
Wait, really? AI can teach us about truth.
She's saying it could help us see past our biases.
To get a clearer picture of the world.
Like AI could be this ultimate truth seeker.
That's a pretty wild idea.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What else AI could help us understand?
It's like AI isn't just changing the world practically.
It's changing how we think about the world.
Our place in the universe. All of it.
And that brings us back to Amodei.
And his optimism about AI.
If we do this right, if we prioritize safety and ethics,
AI could help us solve some massive problems.
climate change, poverty, disease,
Amodei sees a future where humans and AI collaborate.
each using their strengths to make things better.
It's a future I'd love to live in.
Longer lifespans.
A deeper understanding of the universe.
Maybe even answers to some of those big philosophical questions.
The ones that have bugged us forever.
It's exciting to think about.
But let's be real, there's no guarantee, right?
There's still challenges, risks, things we can't predict.
But there are people like Amodei, Askell, and Ola.
Working hard to make sure AI is a force for good.
To make sure it benefits all of us.
They're the pioneers, paving the way.
And it's not just on them.
This is a journey we're all on together.
Every choice we make, every conversation we have,
Shapes the future of AI.
So, as you go about your day,
Think about what you've heard today.
what kind of future do you want to see?
What role will you play in shaping it?
Because the future of AI isn't set in stone.
It's up to us to decide what it will be.
So let's choose wisely.
Let's keep learning, exploring, and pushing the boundaries
But let's never forget the goal.
to create a better world for everyone.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the possibilities. Until next time, keep diving deep.